Okay, my name is Jack Nash, and I'm chairing
Hey,
the
Dr. Nash.
I'm chairing the Board of Appeals of Zoning. And will I'm starting the meeting. Will the secretary please call the roll?
When I do call roll, please state that you are here and then state the city and state from which you're broadcasting yourself. Brendel Adams,
Present from Saginaw, Michigan.
Dennis Browning,
Present, Saginaw, Michigan.
Bruce Gale,
Present, Saginaw, Michigan.
and Jack Nash.
Present, Saginaw, Michigan.
All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, the first item of business will be the approval of the minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from December 2nd, 2020.
Support.
Okay, any discussion or any changes? If there are none, can we have a positive or negative vote?
You need to call for ayes.
Yeah. Pardon me? Well, all those in favor, say aye.
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 And do we have approval for the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Jack, you need to ask for any nay.
Okay, are there any nays? I guess not. Okay, I have to read about the the function of the board is to provide zoning flexibility. The action of the board can be an interpretation, which involves an interpretation of the zoning code and or text of a zoning district. We also may issue a variance which an appeal to vary from strict application of the zoning code. The meeting is videotaped, and it is important that only one person speak at a time. When the appeal in which you are interested is called, please come forward to the podium and allow the board a moment to review the material, after which you can give your name and address to the secretary. After the appellate presentation, anyone interested in the appeal may come forward, give his or her name, and address the secretary. Please make your comments brief and to the point. All questions should be directed to the board and not to the appellate. The board will discuss the appeal, vote, and continue to the next appeal. An affirmative vote of 2/3 of the board, which is 4 votes, shall be necessary. Sorry about this. To decide in favor of an appeal. The action of the board is final. The only relief is through the courts. Please be advised that use and dimensional variances expire in 6 months from the date of the meeting. Are there any questions? If there are none, the secretary will call the first appeal.
All right, our first case for today is case number J20-0050. Be having a public hearing for a variance request to decrease a setback requirement and the amount of parking required at 1014 Gratiot Avenue.
Is there anyone here to speak on this appeal?
Yes, this is Trevor Wisniewski.
Sorry, hold on one second. Jack, can you say that you opened public hearing? Sorry.
Okay, I'm opening the public hearing now. Is there anyone that would like to discuss this variance or this appeal?
Yes, this is Trevor Wisniewski. City is Kego Harbor, Michigan. And I'm the president of Great Lakes Natural Remedies. We're a Michigan-based seed-to-sale cannabis company. I myself grew up in Saginaw. I graduated from Arthur Hill in 1987. And recently I got into the cannabis business, and we now have 8 dispensary locations in various stages of development. We have 2 grow locations and an extraction lab. We're experienced, and we have been operating in the legal cannabis business in Michigan for 2 years now. Our main headquarters is just outside of Saginaw, over in Spalding Township, where the old Timbertown Bowling Alley or flea market is. That's us. And we're really excited to be part of the city now. Tonight, I'm requesting a setback variance and an exception for parking to meet our special use permit requirements. And this is for our location at 1014 Gratiot. Now, this is a very, very old building built in the 1800s, and our intention is to remodel for our own business. And currently, it complies with all the zoning and the marijuana ordinance, except for the request for tonight. I do want to just tell the zoning appeals board that a few benefits for being able to allow us to have these variances. We're looking to invest over $1.2 million on this project in the city. And this project will improve 3 different city lots, which are currently blighted. Our presence there and our capital will increase the value of nearby businesses. And unlike normal businesses, we contribute to the city's bottom line. In addition to our $5,000 yearly license fee, our estimate for our operations at this one location will estimate $80,000 annually to the city's revenue via the marijuana excise tax. So locating this business here means more revenue and more jobs for city residents. I'd like to turn it over to John Morey to review our site plan and our request in a little more detail. And I thank you in advance for your consideration, and I'll be here for more questions. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. John Morey with D&M Site Surveying and Engineering in Saginaw. I'd like to talk about the site a little bit here. 1014 Gratiot. The building is located on Lot 1 of Seifert's addition to the city of Saginaw that was platted in 1868. Okay, these old plats, lots are small. Obviously, they didn't plan for vehicles, didn't plan for cars. They weren't invented yet. And so the actual building itself was built in 1879, and it started as a general store. It was then converted to a grocery store. And when I was growing up, it was the Smith Brothers hardware store. Dennis, you probably remember that. Orrin Smith lived right across the street from us.
Yep.
And so the building itself is right on the property lines. When the site was platted in 1868, the road names weren't even the same. It was State Road that later became Gratiot, and then as MDOT was formed, turned into a MDOT road, M46. Brockway Avenue was actually called Cross Road on those old plats, and it was actually a plank road. It was the Indian route, the Indian trail that led to Midland. And so just a little history of those lots. I love going in and surveying these. I hand my surveyors a plat from 1868 and say, here, go figure out where these property lines are. And so it's a good puzzle. It's a puzzle to surveyors. We love it. Anyway, that's a little history on those lots. The lot across the street was platted in 1924. That building was built in 1924. And then when we move to the west side of the bakery parcel, that is also part of that Seifert's addition. And that house at 1100 Gratiot was actually built in 1869. So what we have configured on our site plan, because of the city's requirement for a parking lot, there is a 26-foot through lane that's required on our parking lots. because of the 10-foot setback on that westerly property line, we weren't able to get our 26-foot through lane designed. And so what we came up with was angled parking. So we were going to have a one-way coming in from coming in from Brockway and then exiting on Gratiot. Okay, by allowing us to have a 5-foot setback, we can move our parking lot 5 foot, and we can abide by the requirements, the City of Saginaw zoning requirements for a 26-foot through lane. By getting that 5-foot setback, we can eliminate our driveway on Gratiot. And we would really, really like to do that. Russ is the owner, and Russ works for the Road Commission in Midland, and he's been heavily involved with our concept, our designs, and he would really like to see us not having that driveway on Gratiot. And so by getting a 5-foot variance into that setback, we would still have 5 feet. We would still construct the retaining wall, the buffering between the residential lots and this parking lot, so that we wouldn't have any headlights, we wouldn't have any light encroachment, and we would still accommodate all the landscaping requirements needed for that buffering. Okay, and actually we don't even need 5 feet, we need 4.5, but 5 is a nice round number. And then we can make the city requirements work for the through lane to eliminate our driveway on Gratiot. And that would I'm sure make everybody happy over there by eliminating the driveway. Other than that, we've met the parking requirements by having our parking lot count come across the street onto Gratiot. Now, the issue with this parking is we share Mr. Kemmer and the Hamilton Bakery own the parking lot. That's their parking lot. There's a cross parking agreement. And when Bob Golan has counted all of the parking spaces per the square footage of all these buildings, we had to accommodate, we couldn't overlap that parking with the bakery and with the proposed facility, and so at 1014. And so we've met the requirements. We need that setback on the building variance because we're right on the property line. So I guess if anybody has any questions about the plat or the building or any of those parking requirements, I can answer them. I know Bob wanted me to be short. I tried.
How does the bakery feel about this?
May I weigh in on that?
Absolutely.
Okay. My name is Scott Kemmer, president of Hamilton Home Bakery. The building is on the west side of the buildings that we are talking about in the parking lot. We've been operating in that location since the mid-70s, 1970s. And through them 40-some years, we have never had a problem or an issue with the buildings the way they are. My only suggestion, as I may make, is, like I said, we own the parking lot, and I see daily cars, they turn off of Gratiot or into Brockway, and we have a straight shot through to both enter and exit. And I see cars constantly turn into our parking lot, scream across the parking lot, and exit the other end because they can beat the light at Gratiot and Brockway.
I've seen it too.
Yes, and it is a hazard. We've been working to fix that. Anyways, Mr. Wisniewski and I have been talking with Russ, who is the engineer for Midland, about alleviating that problem with speed bumps or some kind of rubberization, whatever. My suggestion on the other side of the parking lot that is on the west side of the bakery parking lot, I would strongly suggest that you allow them to put the entrance and the exit on Brockway and not have the thoroughway to Gratiot, because it'll be the same problem that we have now. Basically, that's, we agree. I hope to keep the buildings the same as they are. We never had a problem. Just that little bit of parking is the only matter, I should say, that I have. Other than that, we support everything they're asking you guys to do. And appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
I need to make a comment because the project that you guys are describing for the variance is not the application that we got. The application for your variances is for the setback where the building is, because the one side, you're technically supposed to have one side be a side setback of 10 feet. And then the other exception was for eliminating 4 spaces at the 1009 address. There is no application right now to do that, change that setback so that you can have both entrances off of Brockway. So that would have to be a separate application. We can't really change our current application and all of the information we've given to our board members. So that's the first time I've heard that. I mean, I heard the complaints at the planning commission, but we haven't gotten applications or discussed that further. So just so everybody's clear.
Bob, can you chime in on that? I thought that we were going to be able to submit for that at this time. We were under the understanding that with that revised plan that I sent over to you, that was going to be addressed tonight. Bob, did you catch that? Bob Golan?
Bob? Is he muted?
No, for some reason we can't hear you, Bob. I'm not sure what's going on.
So what it was, Cassie, is that we have been in communication with Bob about this, and he had told us that, yeah, get this plan over and we can.
That's not on your application. So I don't know what to tell you. That's not on the application. I can call Bob on the phone right now and then you guys will be able to hear him. Yeah, I'm not sure what to tell you. We didn't send out notices or anything about that. I don't know why I hung up. Hi.
So I have not seen anything of that nature. I did not see a revised plan, so I don't know quite what he's talking about.
They can all hear you, Bob. You're just talking on the webinar.
So this is the public hearing portion. I did not receive a revised plan.
Could you all hear that? You couldn't hear
Not
me.
really.
He said that he has not received a revised plan. So this application has to just be to eliminate those 4 spaces and to have the setback so that the building is fine where it is located.
Hey, John, this is Russ Inman. I reside at 110 Braley Street, Saginaw, Michigan. John Maury, would you like to discuss some of the issues surrounding the old pawn shop building, the Smith Brothers grocery store building, as in regard to being on 2 streets and typically corner lots in this condition elsewhere in the city, those being considered both 2 frontages with the 0 setback because of B2 or B1 zoning?
Yeah, so obviously the zero setback requirement, based on this zoning, you have front setback, side and rear. We are on a triangular lot. I think the biggest issue is that this building was built in 1879, and we're trying to say, hey, we don't meet a zoning ordinance in 2021. So I don't think that that's a big problem here. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we need to get our old buildings back up, running, people in them, and we're always going to have some of these issues now with these new zoning ordinance requirements. And so I see what you're saying because of the zone B2, and I guess it's up to Cassie and Robert to interpolate those requirements for us.
My name's Russ Inman. I said that already, sorry. I own the properties at 1009 Gratiot. It's actually has two addresses. It's 1009 and 1011. The building formerly was used as cross business machines.
Mhm.
It's on the south side of Gratiot, adjacent between the old Dingler's Pharmacy, where Robert Young has his realty office now, and Tony's restaurant on the corner of Braley and Gratiot. I live right behind Tony's, and I also own the property at 1034 Gratiot that is adjacent to Hamilton Home Bakery. I grew up on the first block of Brockway, and as a child, I used to drive my tricycle down to the bakery, and the bakery and Smith Brothers has been, and Dingler's Pharmacy, and that whole neighborhood has been my entire childhood. I bought the building adjacent to the bakery because it was being used for nefarious purposes, and I desire my degrees in architecture. I work at Midland County Road Commission since 1998 as a design engineer in the engineering department, and I truly want to see my neighborhood come back. After I got back from college, I moved into my home, which used to be the George Thick and George Bush law firm behind Tony's restaurant there. And I believe.
Great house, by the way.
Thank you. It's the money pit, but I do love it.
Since the 50s.
Yeah, it's an incredible home. And the building on the north side of Gratiot next to the bakery, that was built by John Dice. And the building at 1009 Gratiot, that was built by John Tice as a service shop, highway service tire shop. I would hate for these businesses, these buildings, to not be able to be reused for future. They are the fabric of what makes us, the history of our city, and to see these being utilized for the, current modern day usage and still being able to live in harmony with their surrounding neighborhood, I think that's just an absolute bonus. I would request that the zoning board tonight of appeals tonight approve both the reduction of 4 parking spots as indicated in this matter by KSC, and also the setback on a building. If this setback were to be enforced for any other business going down the line, the building would have to be torn down, and that would be an absolute shame. Similarly, I would love for my neighborhood and this neighborhood to have a great comeback, because you can look up and down other major thoroughfares in the city, and the historic buildings are just gone, and that is a total shame. And with this, a $1.2 million worth of investment, it will actually impact 5 different parcels, 3 different buildings, and 2 lots. And I own the home next to at 1100 Brockway as well, and where the parking lot is being proposed. And although I hate the idea of tearing down a home, if I could find a place to relocate it, I will. But our progress comes at a cost, and if it means saving the other properties and bringing back my neighborhood, that the house will have to be dealt with. So I really look forward to all your comments, and thank you for letting me speak.
Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding. I thought on this they were going to do a parking lot at 1409.
At 1009? Well, in the site, in the plan as submitted to the Planning Commission, and there is a parking lot at both 1009/1011 Gratiot, which is behind my home, and an additional lot to meet the number of parking spaces at 1100 Gratiot, which that backs up to Brockway Street. So it would take both. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cassie. The 4 spots, is that still including the parking lot at 1009 and 1011 Gratiot?
The 4 parking spots are the spaces that would be at 1009. Yep.
All right.
So those are the 4 parking spots that we're taking out if we approve the variance. Then all the rest would still stay.
So there would be parking at both properties on both sides of Gratiot and Brockway.
So the ones across the street would be taken out with the variance.
So no parking at 1009?
No, just on whatever it is, 1100, I think, and then right next to the building.
All right. And the Planning Commission had some concerns with pedestrians crossing Gratiot at that crosswalk. It has a zing, regardless, of the merits of that, but they did have those concerns, and so that's why they recommended the Zoning Board of Appeals look at this issue.
I do have someone on the phone who also would like to make a public comment, and hopefully you guys can hear him. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is John Bogo, local attorney. My office is on Gratiot down the road, within Saginaw Township, but I drive down to the drop box at the courthouse about every day. And when the courthouse is open, I go into the courthouse just about every day, sometimes in the morning and in the afternoon. So I grew up in Saginaw as well, and familiar with the area, and the history's all nice, but the real concern here is that I've seen it. I've actually been in an accident where I went to turn, as you know, if you're on M46 or Gratiot heading east, it turns to the right to go over the bridge down by the Y, and I turned right, and this other car, goes into 3 lanes there, just hit me. They're not paying attention, and there was an accident. I was not at fault, and as Mr. Kemmer indicated, I've witnessed as well, these cars jet through, and it is, the word he used is hazard. And I totally agree. They cut through either Brockway or Gratiot to avoid the light and think they can beat it, as he said. So if they got a red light coming down Brockway, they'll bolt through the parking lot, wheel out onto Gratiot, and then get the green light, or vice versa. If they want to turn around and they miss the turn lane to cut over on Harrison Street up a block, then they turn around in that lot because they missed the turn. So the idea of getting a variance to, not have enough parking spaces, what's going to happen is across the street, there are parking lots over there. There's one that accommodates the Tony's restaurant. And so people, when it's busy there for the bakery and the drug distribution center, they're going to go over there because they see parking. So just because they want to eliminate having to park across the street doesn't mean that people aren't going to park across the street. They will. And, with the drugs going on and the whole idea behind the ordinance of having the right amount of parking without having to cross the street, is a serious safety issue for the safety, health, and welfare of everybody, not just the people that are going to run across the street without a light there because there is no setback and all the rest of that, but for people driving down the street. So even though there may be a carrot of saying we're going to invest $1.2 million, we hear a lot of that with investors and people coming into getting, their pay less in taxes and we'll get this development zone. And then, historically across the country, we see where 80% of the time that money actually doesn't get put in, or they don't hire that many employers, whatever it is. But even assuming they were to put in $1.2 million into this development, unfortunately, it's all our experience who have grown up in Saginaw that there's been more decay than development. So I'm all for development. The problem here is that we've had this decay, and so there's really no justifiable reason I can think of to make this hazard that's already in existence. Okay. And this is happening without the one building, the prior pawn shop, even being open. So we have one store owner just on the other side of the parking lot saying we got a hazard going on. That's without one of the businesses even being open and having more traffic there. So the problem I see is that I can't use the word unlimited, but certainly there's an overabundance of other property that's vacant and abandoned, that we have a land bank that has you can get them for $1. They could develop that. They take $1.2 million and do an awful lot in another area that you approve, and then we don't have this parking on Brockway, which is part of their site plan. 4 parking spots on Brockway, and they still end up short 4 spots. So you got people now parking on the road, which wasn't happening before, that are coming to get drugs. And it's just, all you need is one person to get run over and killed, and that $1.2 million investment, and somebody's getting sued for $3 or $4 million, it's a drop in the bucket. So I'm in 100% object to this because I travel this. I know the hazards. I've been in an accident myself. Mr. Kemmer's already pointed out the hazard. We don't have to repeat that too much. So it's just, and with all the other places that are available and the empty buildings and the empty lots, if they want to scratch a check for $1.2 million, there's so many other places that would accommodate their needs that we don't need to make an exception. If I had to drive down Fifth Avenue or Madison in Manhattan, I would understand trying to look for an empty lot or, enough space to do this would be very, very difficult. And a variance might be, hey, look, there is just no other way around this. So I think given the safety situation that we've already heard is a hazard, it's only going to get worse when you put another building in there that's distributing drugs to people that basically they probably smoke daily. And, the work I do, anybody that drinks alcohol 5 days a week, even if it's only 3 drinks at dinner, they're considered an alcoholic because of the regularity and everything else. And then they get, so it's a substance abuse issue here. And I'm sure these people, my experience that on medication, I've represented people because they didn't transport it properly. So my history with it is that they're smoking weed way more than twice a day. And so it's a serious, serious health issue, not only to people that want to go to the store, that they want as their customers, but to people that are going to be driving down Brockway and Gratiot and having all this congestion. It's already a hazard, and we don't need to add to it. Somebody's going to get killed, and we're a lot better off to do it in so many other places where it's available in Saginaw. There's plenty of empty buildings, unfortunately. But yeah, so I would object to granting a variance to have less parking than is required across the street, which is what they would need, and you can't do that for these type of operations. It's prohibited. So that's my objection.
Could you give me your address again, please?
Yeah, my office is 5335 Gratiot Road, Saginaw.
Okay, that's all I need.
48638.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Cassie.
Yeah.
I would like to chime in again, please. Russell Inman.
We need to stick to only one person speaking
All
for
right,
each
Jesse.
project. It gets a little crazy
Yes,
if we
please.
do that, Russ, please.
I just want to mention that we are working with Scott Kemmer and Hamilton Home Bakery for traffic calming measures at the existing bakery parking lot. So to say that that is a hazard is incorrect. We are going to take and put some corrective measures in there. And I work in traffic safety, so I am well aware of how to do this and pinning the correct ones that will make the best efficiency there. And I'm not sure if I speak, is that going to bar them, Trevor or John Morris was speaking?
You have all spoken already, so none of you should speak again on this project. We
All right.
need to, it gets out of control.
Well, I'd like to have a turn then.
Who's that?
Robert Young. I own the building at 1001 Gratiot Avenue. I'm also a resident Greenpoint County, 35 Riverside Boulevard in Saginaw, Michigan. I'm a resident of the city of Saginaw. I own the largest real estate brokerage located in the city of Saginaw, primarily because we're the only one in the city of Saginaw.
Yep.
And sitting 8 hours a day, other than when the dams burst and we flood, I've been hanging out at my house a lot because we've been rebuilding it. We were evacuated. But sitting in the office 8 hours a day, lots of people cross at the crosswalk. There's a push button crosswalk right there at the corner of Brockway and Gratiot. The only difference I'm seeing now with the pawn shop being closed is traffic is a little bit down. But when the pawn shop was open, people were pulling wagons across the street with stereos and other items to take to the pawn shop. I don't think there was ever an issue there. I've never seen one. The other thing is I'm glad that this gentleman that just spoke prior to me, he's certainly welcome to his comments, but his comments were basically that my client, I am the listing broker of the building at 1014 Gratiot, the one that's being considered. I am the listing broker for that, and I represent the person that currently owns it. And I'm glad that his idea was to make that building worthless and never sell it to anybody and have my buyer go look for a building somewhere else. That's his, that's what he wants to do. That's his suggestion.
Absolutely correct.
That building is a historical building. My building doesn't have any setbacks. Cross Business Machines, previous use, that's owned by Russ Inman and Bill Georges, that doesn't have any setbacks. And then if this guy wants to talk drugs, let's talk entire Hamilton Street where they drink. None of those buildings have setbacks.
Can we please stick to what we're talking about from this project? This isn't a yelling match. There's no benefit of you doing this.
Okay. $1.2 million invested into this neighborhood is far above and away the best buyer that we've even considered. We had a couple other people interested in looking at just storage in that building. And they were probably looking at it for minimal. I mean, they probably looking at trying to offer $30,000 or $40,000, and it was going to go into terrible disrepair. The other thing is I just closed today for my client the house at 1222 Brockway on the corner of Mason and Brockway. And in doing a market analysis for him prior to listing it and selling it, we determined that the highest price was $20,000. Real cute little 2-bedroom house, $20,000. We have a problem in the city of Saginaw. One of the things I constantly get when I get calls from buyers on a daily basis, a couple of times a week, one of the questions I ask is, hey, where were you thinking about moving to? Where were you looking at? Anywhere but the city is probably an answer I get 1 or 2 times a week. So I'm a city resident. My office is in the city. I am pro-city, but apparently I'm in the minority in this county. All the municipalities in this county are more desirable than the city. We need to get large investment in this. This is a building built in 1880s. My building was built in 1900. I can already tell you that because of what Trevor's going to invest in his building, I know it's going to cost me money because I'm going to have to keep up with the Joneses. I already know I'm going to have to improve my building. So I already have plans to start that process now. So it's going to be a snowball effect. The whole neighborhood is going to improve from it.
Okay,
But for me to have to go find another buyer.
yeah, thank you for your comments, but we have to keep on track of the zoning itself.
Please.
We got to keep
No,
on track.
I mean, if this setback isn't granted, I can't sell the building to this buyer.
We can't.
We're looking at probably just somebody picking it up for storage. It's going to become a dilapidated, vacant building again.
The zoning commission cannot make decisions on financial hardships. It's specifically on zoning. Okay? So is there specifically on this project? Okay, is there anybody comments from anybody else on this project that hasn't spoken yet? Pardon me? Is there anybody else that wants to make comments that has not spoken to this project?
Dr. Nash, this is William Georges. I also reside at 110 Braley Street in Saginaw, and I own Mike's Wrecker Service. I cross Gratiot almost every morning to go to the bakery, and I don't cross at the light. I actually cross at Braley Street. But my husband and I do own those properties, and we would like to see this granted, and we do believe that it would definitely benefit our neighborhood. So we fully support it. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this project that has not spoken? Is there anybody else that has not spoken on this appeal that would like to speak? Okay, I would ask for a motion to move into the
Motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Okay, we're now moving into away from the public hearing. Is there any discussion among the board on this topic?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, please.
Yes.
In reference to the items before us, there's just two variances that are before us, the setback, and then the other one is on the number of parking spaces of the four that would be short for the variance. And there's nothing in our packet that would allow us even to consider voting on the 1100 Gratiot on a possible variance for the parking. So I'm in favor of the variance that is on our recommendation for tonight. So, and that would be just for those that are presented to us tonight.
If I could request that we do them separately, I think that would make more sense as we go. So do one just for. I don't believe they're numbered in here, no.
That's numbered separately?
Yep, they're not. So we'll just say one for the dimensional setback, which would be because the building is built up to the property line. Then generally it should have a setback on the side of 10 feet. So dimensional setback, and then the other one would be a decrease in the parking standard.
And Kathy, and that's based on the fact that the plans would go ahead for the parking at 1100 Gratiot.
No, so the decrease in parking, if granted, that variance would allow them to not do the 4 parking spaces across the street at 1009 Gratiot.
So it has nothing to do with 1100.
Nope, they're developing that no matter what.
What's that?
They're developing that no matter what. Yeah.
Okay, so I understand now that we're talking about permitting of the spaces across the street, which is joint, and that they're 4 short. Is that correct? We're going to vote variance on the 4 that is short.
Yes, that's what the request is.
Okay. No other questions for me at this time.
Any other discussion with the board at all about this project? So Cassie, do you want to do these two separately? But they don't have different numbers, right?
No, just mention in the, when you make the motion that it is going to be granted for the dimensional variance.
Does that meet our legal requirements?
What?
Does that meet our legal requirements? Because if I'm looking at the document, it says we're voting on both of those at the same time. If I'm looking at my document correctly, but you want us to do each variant. Those are 2 parts to the variance, an A and a B.
Yeah, that's fine. They applied for the exact same project. It's just 2 separate variances.
But is it correct that we can do that this way? Legally,
I believe it would be more correct to do them separately than to do them at the same time.
Okay. All right.
This is a question for staff, but how would we number these? Like part A and part B, or how would you do that? Because
I think for the record, you would first make a motion to approve the request for the dimensional variance.
Okay.
And then vote on that. And then the second motion would be
So
to
moved.
approve the special exception for off-street parking and then vote
Okay.
on that.
All right.
Okay, do I have a motion for variance on the dimensions?
I make that motion, Dr. Nash.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
I'm gonna do a roll call vote,
Aye.
just so we have that, because we're virtually. Where did
Okay.
my thing go? Okay. Brandell Adams,
Yes.
Dennis Browning,
Yes.
Bruce Gale,
Yes.
Jack Nash.
Yes.
Okay, motion was approved.
Okay, now do I have a motion for the, was that the decrease?
Special exception.
Special exception?
For the off-street parking.
Do I have a motion for special exception for the off-street parking?
So move.
I'll make that motion also. Okay, I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
I'm gonna do a roll call
Roll
again.
call, yeah, okay.
Brandell Adams,
Yes.
Dennis Browning,
Yes.
Bruce Gale,
Yes.
Jack Nash.
Yes.
All right, the motion was approved. Okay, we can move into the next item of business.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so
You're welcome.
Cassie, is that election of officers?
Yes, so we need some nominations.
All right, get me out of here.
Right now, we do not have a president or vice president. We just have our secretary, Jack Nash. So our 3 other members, we need to have a few positions filled.
Cassie, I'd be very willing to take over the president's position for the term if no one else would, unless somebody else definitely wants it.
Okay. So,
Okay, is anybody wanting to do the vice president seat?
If no one else does, I'd volunteer Bruce Gale here.
All right. Jack, you want to stay secretary? Brandell is this your second meeting? Brandell?
I'll stay secretary.
Okay, can I get somebody to do that nomination?
I would like to nominate Dennis Browning for the president, Bruce Gale, vice president, and Jack Nash for secretary.
Second. I second that.
All those in favor?
Roll call.
Aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
There also everybody's aye. There's only four.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, thank you guys.
Okay, can we move on to old business? Any old business? Oh, I guess we get skip that. Okay, any public comment that hasn't been spoken to before? Seeing none,
I would just like to thank the board for their time tonight. Thank
Okay.
you so much.
thank you. So with no public, only one public comment, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Need a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, everybody have a